Racist, and this video is about me being racist. In 2006, I stayed in South London for a few weeks with a friend in between rental periods on two houses. And one day I came home from work early and walked past the local secondary school in Streatham just as the kids were coming out. And I was surprised to see that a lot of the black kids were being picked up by their dads. And I remember thinking, oh, wow, I didn't realize that. Black dads do stick around. Now, obviously, I'm not proud of this. And at the time, I think if somebody had come up to me at a party or something and said, black dads don't stick around, I would have argued with them and said, of course they do. Because intellectually, in my higher brain, I know, and I did know, that black dads stick around. But somehow, subconsciously, I had acquired the idea that they didn't. You see, one of the problems with racism is that our brains are actually designed for prejudice, in the sense that they are designed to pick up cues from the world around us and take shortcuts to understanding how the world works. And that would be fine if we didn't live in a racist society. But in a racist society, we are constantly bombarded with messages about races and what the essential nature of those races are. Messages that just aren't true, that aren't accurate. And I think in some ways the people who are overtly racist, who admit to being racist, who are white supremacists, are easier to contend with because we know that they're there and they are conscious of their bias and we can debate it with them and argue it with them. But it's the people like me who claim not to be racist, who claim that we are somehow immune from this disease in our society, that can be the really dangerous ones. Because if we don't admit to ourselves that we carry this prejudice, how on earth can we ever deal with it? Now, I know that the argument is often given that we can't have people second-guessing themselves and constantly on guard about, oh, am I being racist, am I not? But the fact is, the burden of racism has to be borne by somebody. If I don't make a conscious effort to not be racist, then it will be people of color around me who have to take that burden on my behalf. And that just can't be right. What that moment in Streatham taught me is that I have no room for complacency. Saying that I'm anti-racist, being intellectually opposed to racism is no guarantee of not being racist. And the job of combating racism belongs to all of us, and it is an ongoing job.
So you think I hate white people because I'm partying with a bunch of black women? First off, I've dated white women. Second, clearly I'm from a white family. I don't hate white people for the way they look. I hate the lies they taught me. I hate that they taught me that Jesus was white when that clearly wasn't fucking true. I hate that they taught me Columbus discovered this country when that wasn't fucking true. I hate the fact that they can't admit that their great-grandfather was a piece of shit for owning slaves, yet because he's part of their history or part of their family heritage, that makes it fucking okay when it's clearly fucking not. Now, when you flip the script, white people are the ones who hate on other races for the way they look, and they dehumanize them and put systems in place to oppress them. They steal their culture and profit off of it, and then they like to act like racism doesn't fucking exist. Nobody cares about how white people look. They care how they act, and their actions speak louder than their fucking words.
Look, I'm a white man. I want to get my perspective on racism. I've been getting so much of it in the comments lately from white people. White people tend to speak differently when it's only white people in the room. My whole life, even since I was young, when I heard that shit, it was disgusting to me. I would hear it and be like, why do y'all speak like that? Why would y'all think in such a way? Where's this hatred coming from? When I see racist white people and I hear things they have to say, I'm ashamed to be the same race as y'all. I just feel kind of disgusted sometimes when I hear it. I'm like, what? Because I can never relate to you. It's the way white people feel like they're so right when they say these things. Like they really, really believe these things from the core. That's what bothers me the most. I created this TikTok to do entertainment. And during me doing the entertainment, I've been getting so much hate because I am in a interracial relationship. So now I decided to use my platform to stand for something. Stand to get something. Y'all white people have no reason to feel supreme. No reason to feel better than you. No reason to look down on people. We are all the same. We all bleed the same blood. We're all born from the same way. Stand against y'all. It's time for change, and I'm gonna do.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel once more. Today we are looking at a video that has started a lot of conversation online. In this video, several people, most of them white American, talk openly about racism, white privilege, and why they believe white people should take a big role in fighting racial injustice. They share personal stories, admit mistakes they made in the past, and explain why staying silent can allow unfair treatment to continue. This is an emotional and important discussion. No matter where you stand, it gives us a chance to think about how social works, how society works, how people treat each other, and what can be done to create more fair. So watch till the end, and don't forget to share your thoughts respectful on the comment section. And remember to watch till the end, and I'll be back with more comments.
When I saw this, so a black person in the United States during the Jim Crow era faced second-class citizenship, disenfranchisement, barriers to voting, barriers to education, barriers to employment, and barriers to housing. Then we had the 1964 Civil Rights Act and the 1965 Voting Rights Act, which stated we could no longer do any of this. We could no longer discriminate based on race. So in 2023, what is the only group of people that we can legally discriminate against? We can legally relegate to second-class citizenship, create barriers to voting, barriers to education, barriers to employment, barriers to housing. If you answer convicted felon, you are absolutely correct. In 2023, a convicted felon is the only group of people that we can legally do all this to. Now, do you believe it's a coincidence that 1 in 3 black males carry this label as convicted felon as opposed to 1 in 17 white males? If you answered yes to that question, let's take a look at what's happened since the dismantling of the Jim Crow laws. We've had a 700% increase in our prison population. We've gone from 300,000 inmates to as high as 2.3 million. Now, I do believe we're back down to about 1.8 million today. We had the law and order agenda, which was an increase in police spending and a decrease in school funding, which created the school to prison pipeline. We also had the war on drugs, which we now know was a war on people. We had the 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act, and we had the 1994 Crime Bill. Now, the 86 Anti-Drug Abuse Act differentiated between rock cocaine and powder cocaine, which we know predominantly impacted the black community. And the 94 Crime Bill created harsher sentences, lengthier sentences, and minimum mandatories. We also know that black people make up 53% of all exonerations, 69% of exonerations for drug crimes, and they're 7 times more likely to be wrongly convicted. So when I seen all of this, I realized that racism in this country never ended.
Here are some things that white people say without realizing they're being racist. Okay. When a white person is telling a story and they mention the race of the person for no reason. That waitress, and then mention how she was Hispanic as if that somehow has something to do with her character.
She did it. Right. And waitresses. That's racist. That's what you're saying, dude. You're doing it. You're doing it right now. She goes, obviously, like, assuming that waitress is Mexican.
Yeah.
Why don't you just say landscaper?
But yeah, assuming your housekeeper is Latina, obviously.
Assuming the guy on customer support is Indian.
Right.
That's it. That's what you That's what you said on part 2 you couldn't do.
Per your previous email.
Per what you just said to us, dude.
All these white guys who are so confident that systemic racism and sexism don't exist, how the fuck do you know? You only know how it feels to be a white guy. And to be fair, so do I, but I don't presume other people have the same experiences. How many of you have actually sat down and listened to a woman or a person of color talk about what it's like to be them? Because I guarantee if you had the conversations I've had with my clients over the years, you would have a different perspective. Privilege doesn't mean your life is guaranteed to be easy. It just means you aren't going to struggle because of your sex or your skin color. And I know some of you will try to come up with examples of like that one time someone was rude to you because you're white, but that is not the same as the systemic barriers that other people face. Privilege isn't something you notice when you've had it your whole life. You would only notice it if it went away. And that is in fact why so many white men feel oppressed, because equality feels like oppression when you're used to being privileged.
It's so funny meeting actual racists in a small town because, like, it doesn't make any sense. Because, like, bro, those groups you hate, none of them's here. You've never met one. I knew a guy one time, he said, I don't trust black people. I said, name one. And he went, nah, Obama? Dudes around here be talking like, Jews run the world. I'm like, I know they don't run our town of 1,300 people. Your uncle does. That's how you keep getting out of them DUIs. Like, bro, my town was tied in 2008 for the whitest county in the nation. We are 99% white. If the local Mexican restaurant closes down, that goes back up to 100. Like, the last time any of us saw an Asian, a black person, and a native in the same spot, it was on the cover of a 4th grade social studies textbook. Like, I've never met a black person. They seem cool. You're like, we gotta get rid of them immigrants. I'm like, bro, do you know how hard it is for me to find a white person that's not on drugs to do any work at all? I know 2 guys, and both of them's on disability, so I gotta pay them under the table. It's a whole big to-do. I hear people around here like, them immigrants are taking our jobs. I'm like, you've never had a job. You've never wanted a job. I've known you my whole life, Johnny. Your parents put you up to jumping off the monkey bars when we were in 3rd grade and faking a back injury to get perks. You've been on disability ever since. No one in your whole family's had a job, ever. Nobody taking your job.
Yes or no question. Are you a racist?
I'm not a racist.
You're not a racist. Particularly interesting because according to one of your affiliate charities under your nonprofit umbrella, denial of racism constitutes covert white supremacy. Are you a covert white supremacist?
Sir, I'm here to talk about the essential work that nonprofits
Are you a
do.
covert white supremacist?
Can I talk about the work that nonprofits do in
No,
your
I'm
district?
asking you if you're a
'Cause I think
covert
that's
white supremacist, which according to one of your own organizations, again, denial of racism constitutes covert white supremacy. Would you like to
I'm
answer
sorry,
the
what's-
question?
I don't know what the question
So
is.
you refuse to answer whether you are a covert white supremacist.
I am here to talk about the essential work that nonprofits do. If you'd like to ask me a
I
question
am utterly
about
dumbfounded.
nonprofits
You are on
in your
record right now,
district
and you will
or
not say
throughout
that
the
you are not a
country.
covert white supremacist.
I don't have a definition in front of me. I haven't looked at the definition. I'm not going to answer a question about my personal
That
views.
is-
I'm here to talk about the work
You're not-
of nonprofit organizations.
I want to give you one more chance to do this. Are you a covert white supremacist?
Why are we so off track from the topic?
I'm asking you. I'm asking you a very straightforward question.
I've heard your question. Thank you, sir.
And you're not going to answer whether you are a covert white supremacist.
I would like to answer questions about the work
This
of
is
nonprofit
this is
organizations.
painful.
Thank you.
That is really astounding. I can answer very directly that I am not a covert white supremacist, and I imagine all of my colleagues can as well. I think you ought to reevaluate what you're doing in the nonprofit sector if you can't answer that in a straightforward way. That is astounding.
Some time ago, I was speaking at a corporate event in America. I was the guest speaker. That night at dinner, I was at a table full of white people, and the guy, one of the bosses who'd invited me, actually started to tell a joke that I knew straight away was going to be racial. And black people were going to be the butt of the joke. In those split seconds, in the early sentences of the joke, I had a decision to make. Do I say something or stay quiet? No one else was saying anything, though I'm sure they felt uncomfortable. So I spoke up and I said, I don't think this joke is one I want to hear. I don't like the way it's going. I think it's going to be at the expense of black people. I'm not comfortable with that. Would you mind not telling it? Or I could leave the table. It was very uncomfortable. I remember he didn't tell the joke, but it was uncomfortable the rest of the night. Later in my room, I journaled what I felt about what was going on. I thought 2 things were at play. One was what I would call white solidarity. The other was what I would call white social capital. White solidarity is an unspoken code, I think, that we have as white people that means we would never embarrass each other by creating a racial discomfort for each other, by interrupting a racist joke or pointing out a act of prejudice or discrimination. We kind of keep quiet because it's a social code that we have that we would remain in solidarity with each other, which protects our whiteness, our white advantage, our white privilege. That was at play at the table that night that allowed him to do what he'd done obviously many times. white social capital is what you get if you stay quiet. You get included, you are one of the boys, you are an insider, you are good to be around, you're a team player, you're fun, which may give you opportunities of inclusion as well in a corporate setting, a business setting, a social setting. It is an accruing of white capital by going along with it. I want to say to my white friends listening to this that our silence at those times is not benign, it is malignant, because we become complicit in the continuation of the racist joke telling. It gets told again and again because when we heard it, we didn't say anything. And as socially awkward as it is, and knowing you'll be penalized if you say something, I'm appealing to us, because millions of us every day have this opportunity to say something, to speak up, to stand up for people of color and black people. And you will be excluded and you will lose social capital, but you will be a champion of a cause that you wish someone had been for you at times in your life. And I think many of us feel we can't do anything at the large government level. We can't protest on the streets. We don't feel comfortable with this or that. Can you say something today, wherever you are in your life? Can you speak up? Because our silence is not benign. It is continuing the problem. We can all play a part like this every single day. Let's speak up. Let's play our part, is what I'm appealing for. Love you guys. Thank you.
Beloved, who are you talking about? Who are you talking about here? Because it isn't me. There's no way you're talking about me. There's no possible way that you watched that video and your takeaway was that I was telling people of color not to care about racism. Let me break it down for all the children who still somehow managed to get left behind. The point of that video was to beg you motherfuckers to start caring about racism a whole hell of a lot more, because it seems to me that the only time you care about racism is when it allows you to use people of color as a step stool so you can more easily get on a high horse and look down your nose at everyone else. It seems to me that the only time you care about racism is when it allows you to shit on someone famous like Taylor Swift for likes and views. Taylor Swift's new album is the alt-right pipeline. Kim, there are people that are dying. Do you understand what's happening in this country? Do you understand that after Charlie Kirk, HBCUs got threats? There wasn't a black person within a mile of that event, and they still got threats. Do you understand that Latinos are being targeted due to the color of their skin, and regardless of their citizenship status, they're being deported sometimes to an El Salvadorian mega prison? Do you understand that it's only going to get so much worse? Any moment now, Donald Trump is going to invoke the Insurrection Act and try to march American troops into American cities. And when that happens, one of two things is going to occur. Either those cities and states fight back, as some have signaled that they are going to do, and we have a full-blown fucking civil war on our hands, or those cities allow the American troops inside them, in which case we have full-blown, out in the open fucking fascism in the United States. And when that happens, what do you think is going to happen to people of color? What do you think is going to happen to all marginalized communities, to women, to people on the LGBTQ plus spectrum, especially in red states? Let me give you a hint. It's going to be bad. And because you care more about calling attention to your own moral superiority complex than you do about human beings, I want to be perfectly clear here. It's going to be your fault.
I'm just going to say it, right? If more people, more white people would stand up against racism, we could probably get it to damn near end, y'all. I'll stand up for it. I know racism isn't right, but I need more white people to jump on this train to help me take a stand against racism. There are white people out here, y'all, that's got people thinking that we are all racist, when that is not what's going on. So we have got to put a message out to take a stand against racism. Like, I will start it off. I don't care. I will stand alone in it if I have to. But if you're a white person and you're with me on this, help me push the content out. There's only one way to do this, and it comes with just being in unison. That's the only way. There is power in numbers, y'all. I don't care if you're black, Mexican, Indian, Asian, whatever it is that your race, ethnicity is, you don't have to be white for me to like you. And everybody else that feels this way, I need you to get on this train right now.
Know what these are? Yeah, you do. License plate tabs. These are mine from a year ago when I decided to start an experiment to see how long I, as a white dude, could drive around without them and not get pulled over. Last year, working all the way across town 5 days a week, driving through 4 or 5 different police jurisdictions, I was never stopped or questioned once. But please do keep telling us that there's no racial or class bias in policing. I bet if I started riding my bike around with a gun on me, nobody would call. But in the past couple of years, GRPD has killed on 2 out of 3 calls for simply being black and having a firearm, supposedly in a state where that in itself is not illegal. Speaking of racism, let's talk about dogs. As a white guy from the South, I gotta say that when I see a black man running away having dogs sicked on them, it's reminiscent of the plantations of the old South, with an E. Delbert, release the hounds, that boy's running. I concur with those who've called for drastic change in the dog policy at GRPD. I also join with those who are very tired of listening to a group who doesn't even rank among the top 15 to 20 most dangerous professions bellyache about how they supposedly feared for their lives while nestled snug in their body armor. Mayor, you urged people last night to have ideas rather than just complaining. But ideas are always rebuked by cops as a coddled class hiding behind endless excuses, red tape, assorted jingoistic mythos, and an endless pecker-measuring machismo. Look, David, I get it. You're insulted and maybe a little butthurt that people like me will come up here and get on you about your promises. I saw the Facebook unfriending. I read the cold, stoic handshake a couple of weeks ago. But you're the one that promised to take on policing as an issue in your campaign, and that we shouldn't be arresting people all the time for every little thing. And then you went and made a video carrying water for exactly that. Nobody's trying to belittle progress on stuff like financial disclosures, but I can guarantee you that has never saved a life. And imagine how much faster you could move if you stopped caring about wealthy puppet masters and feelings and egos in this building. Besides, until financial disclosure for all those appointees is a thing, this is nothing but political theater. So I reiterate my question from last night that you dodged about your personal political capital. You're unique. You can push back. You're better equipped than any prior mayor to throw some elbows. What keeps you from flexing? Make it make sense. Tonight, I'm not staying for whatever gaslighting emptiness comes off the dais. I'm making room for somebody else to come upstairs here to this podium. This has already done enough for my mental health, and it's only a freaking Tuesday.
You'll never believe what I heard the other day. Seriously heard a white man on this app talking about the fact that as a white man in the United States of America, that he was no longer free to say the things that need to be said. Seriously? Look. As a white man growing up in the United States, I have never, ever been treated as a suspect. I have never walked into a retail space and had people follow me around because they were nervous that I might steal something. Everyone has always been willing to help me or to direct me to the right person to get help without assuming that my motivations were somehow nefarious. And never, ever have I been pulled over by law enforcement and feared that that routine traffic stop would end in my death. These are things that black people and brown people and people of color and people who belong to marginalized groups in our society report experiencing on a daily basis. When white people in our society get upset when those that are part of historically marginalized groups begin to assert their rights to existence, acceptance, and equality, that should tell you everything you need to know about white privilege and white power in the United States.
I'm Vic Myers. Welcome to the Resistance. I've been trying for a while now to figure out how to talk about something that's been on my mind, and recent events, I think, finally pushed it up. What I want to say is that racism is a white people problem. A white people problem that others are forced to live with. As a white man, I've never had to be afraid of being pulled over by the cops. As a white father, I've never had to have that special talk with my kids about not looking wrong or saying the wrong thing to a cop for fear that they wouldn't come home again. I've never had to worry about being turned down for a mortgage because of the color of my skin or where to go jogging. Never had to worry that I could be scooped up by ICE just for looking like I might belong to the wrong group, even though I was born here. I've never committed the misdemeanor crime of selling cigarettes. But if I did, it wouldn't be a capital offense. These are things that people of color have to deal with every stinking day. These are things that white people allow, that white people cause. I think I'm finally ready to talk about it now because of the state that our country's in, the permission that Donald Trump has given for racist behavior, and the hope I recently felt when I saw the latest poll numbers. For reasons that never made sense to me, Donald Trump has gained support in nearly every demographic when he won his last election, including non-white communities. But now, recent polling suggests that just about everybody is finally seeing him for what he is. They're seeing his racism, and the racism emanating from this administration like stink from a skunk. And they're saying it's not okay. He's lost everything that he gained, and then some, among all these groups. Well, every group except one. That one group is white, non-college educated men, the last stronghold of Trump's race-based politics. Polling indicates that a majority of this group is still standing solidly behind Trump and his policies. Unfortunately for them, they're not going to be any better off under Trump's policies than anybody else. Maybe one day they'll realize that their racism isn't worth what they're losing. And maybe the rest of us will realize something too, that racism is a white people problem, and it's up to white people to solve it. It's up to white people to call it out among their coworkers, their friends, and their family. It's up to white people to be the loudest and proclaim that racism is no longer acceptable in American institutions. It's up to white people to make sure that we're not voting for the racists. Thanks for listening. Good day.
Racist against black people and sexist against women back in the day. Now it is racist against white people and Asians and sexist against men. So they just like being racist and sexist. I think they just want to change the target. But really they just shouldn't be racist and sexist at all.
Yeah,
obviously.
ideally that would be nice.
That would be nice.
Yeah. And it's kind of crazy that we were kind of moving in that general direction until around 2012. And then everything ramped up online, and everybody was accused of being a Nazi, and everybody was transphobic and racist and sexist and homophobic, and everything got exaggerated to the point where it was this wild witch hunt where everyone was a Columbo looking for racism.
Yeah, totally. But they were openly anti-white and often openly anti-Asian.
And then this new sentiment that you cannot be racist against white people because racism is power and influence. And so, okay, no, it's not.
Yeah, racism is racism in the absolute. And there just needs to be consistency. So if it's okay to have, let's say, black or Asian or Indian or a pride, it should be okay to have white pride too.
Yeah.
So that's just a consistency question. If it's okay to be proud of one religion, it should be okay to be proud of, I guess, all religions, provided they're not like
oppressive.
Yeah, or don't, like, as long as part of that religion is not like exterminating people who are not in that religion. Type of
right.
thing. It's really just like a consistency bias. ensuring consistency to eliminate bias. So if it is possible to be racist against one race, it is possible to be racist against any race. So,
of course, logically.
Yes.
Yeah, and arguing against that's when you know you're captured.
It's a logical inconsistency that makes AIs go insane.
And people.
And people go insane, yes.
One more
but like like you can't simultaneously say that there's systemic racist oppression, but also that races don't exist. That race is a social construct. Like, which is it? You know, you also can't say that anyone who steps foot in America is automatically an American, except for the people that originally came here.
Exactly. Except for the colonizers.
Yeah, except for the evil colonizers who came here.
Right.
So which one is it? Like,
right.
if as soon as you step foot in a place, you are just as American as everyone else, then that would have applied. If you apply that consistently, then the original white settlers were also just as American as everyone else.
As a white person, it's one thing to talk about ending racism. It's another thing to take actual steps towards that end. I'm finding a lot of support and encouragement to keep using my voice in this fight. And at the same time, who am I to speak to this problem? I have white friends. I'm just another white dude with my own contributions to racism. So I figure let's just get into it. What's the difference between talking about it and taking action? In my last post, I captioned it, "Ignorant White People." It seems that what most of us oblivious whites get wrong is that regardless of guilt or fault, we need to admit we're uneducated on this topic. Just admit it already. If you're a white person who gets defensive, stop. History has shown us we're all guilty. I'm trying to own that and educate myself. And if you are too, start with Ibram X. Kendi's book, How to Be an Anti-Racist. I also said one of the reasons why some can't or won't take that first step is because we're afraid to get uncomfortable. It requires a hell of a lot of humility to admit you're wrong. And that's something that's just lacking across the board in our society. One of the hardest lessons I've had to learn in my life, I'm still learning, is that even when I don't think I've done anything wrong, someone else's perspective is no less true. And to wholeheartedly care for that person requires setting aside my own shit and understanding life from their point of view. So stop deflecting, excusing yourself or whatever, and get uncomfortable. Join this conversation without getting defensive. Start these discussions in your own circles. So that's a beginning, but then what actual steps do we need to take as white people? In what ways do we need to get uncomfortable? Well, this is where shit starts to get uncomfortable. Realizing the specific action to take is a challenging thing to do because we can't possibly understand what it's like to be targeted by racism. As a white person, how do I even put myself in the shoes of people of color? My privilege is attached to my skin. I can't separate from it. I mean, can we ever truly comprehend the lived experience of being abused by systemic injustices? If a friend loses a loved one and you've never experienced that pain before, you wouldn't say to them, "Oh, I know how you feel," because you don't. And if you just rambled on and on about how life goes on, you'd only make it worse. We can't know how people of color feel, so shut up and quit pretending like you do. Maybe this is where we failed people of color. We can't relate, so we buy into the bullshit we've been told our whole lives, like everybody has an equal shot, just work hard. If you fuck up, then that's your own fault. I mean, we say things like this instead of doing or instead of looking at the serious offenses being committed every day right in front of us. Innocent people being murdered for the color of their skin. Concentrated areas of poverty void of grocery stores because white people won't make money if they build one there. Discrimination against people of color and getting a good education and a decent job, and on and on. Getting uncomfortable means facing the truth of this oppression, sitting down with the person of color, listening to their story, putting yourself in a setting to feel the actual weight of this atrocity, feeling it in the pit of your stomach like you just lost your whole world. When we feel that, maybe we can start to make a change. I don't see too many white people doing that work though. I'm gonna be honest, I've only scratched the surface of taking these steps myself. I need my friends to keep calling me out. I have a lot more to do, we all do. And this is my journey as a human being to be committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's why I'm a social worker.
So guys, I hope you've watched. The first thing that stands out in this video is that many of the speakers are willing to talk honestly about their own experience. They admit that they once had beliefs or attitudes they now regret. They explain that these ideas did not always come from hate. Sometimes they come from growing in a certain environment, hearing stereotypes, or never questioning what they had been taught. One of the biggest message in the video is that racism is not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it happens in small action, unfair assumptions, or silence when something wrong is happening. The speaker urged that simply saying I'm not racist is not enough. They believe people should actively challenge unfair treatment whether they see it. Another important topic is unconscious bias. This means people can make unfair judgment without even realizing it. The speaker encourages everyone to examine their own thinking honestly. They say that changing society begins with changing ourselves. The video also spends a lot of time discussing systematic racism. This idea suggests that unfair treatment is not only about individual people, but can also exist within institutions such as the justice system, education, housing, and employment. According to the speaker, this system can produce different outcomes for different groups, even when the rules appear to be the same. The discussion about criminal justice system is one of the strongest part of the video. The speaker points to different in arrests, sentencing, and incarceration rates. Among racial groups, they urge that these patterns deserve careful attention and open discussion. Whether people agree with every point or not, they believe this issue should not be ignored. Then another major theme is something called white privilege. The speaker explains that this does not mean every white person has an easy life. Instead, they urge that race may not create additional barriers in certain situations. They encourage viewers to listen to the experiences of people whose lives may be different from their own. Then, one speaker introduces the idea of white solidarity. According to the video, many people stay silent because they do not want to upset friends, relatives, and co-workers. They may disagree with racist comments but choose not to speak because they fear conflict. The speaker urged that this silence allow harmful attitude to continue. This leads to an important question. What happens when good people stay quiet? The video suggests that silence can sometimes protect unfair system instead of challenging them. It encourages viewers to have difficult conversation even when they are uncomfortable. Then the video also says that fighting racism should not be left only to people who experience discrimination. The speaker believes that everyone has a role to play. They encourage white people, Americans, to educate themselves, listen carefully, and speak up when they see unfair treatment. Another interesting point is the criticism of performative activism. The speaker warned against people who post message online only to appear supportive without making meaningful action. They add that really change requires consistency, effort, learning, and honest conversation, not just on social media's post. All the same time, it is important to remember that conversation about race often include many different viewpoints. Not everyone agrees on the causes of inequality or the best solution. Some people focus on personal responsibility, while others emphasize on structural changes. Listening respectful to different opinions can help create better understanding, even when disagreements remain. One thing almost everyone can agree on this is that respect matters. Even person deserves to be treated with dignity regardless of race, background, or culture. Building strong community depends on fairness, equal opportunity, and treating others with kindness. The video ends with powerful message. The speaker asks the viewers not to become defensive when discussing race. Instead, they encourage people to ask questions, learn more, and continue improving themselves. They believe meaningful change starts with honest conversation and willingness to listen. Whether you agree with every argument in the video or not, it raises important questions about society, history, and personal responsibility. It reminds us that solving difficult problems requires patience, respect, and commitment to understand one another. It's now your turn. What do you think about ideas shared in this video? Do you believe open conversation like this can help bring people together? Remember to share your comments on the comment section and keep the discussion respectful. And if at all you enjoyed this commentary, don't forget to like this video, share, comment, and don't forget to subscribe, and turn on notification for more thoughtful discussion. And I would love just to say thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.